This is a Tape Deck podcast.
Hello and welcome back to We'll Run For. This is your host Tom, and with me as always are Erin.
Hello.
Michael.
Hello.
And Diana.
Hi.
Tom did that one on purpose.
I know.
Always. Are we actually recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
We are.
It is officially spooky season.
Yes.
Officially. It is October 1st. As of
Officially,
this moment.
what did you say?
Spooky season.
Oh, I thought you said Snooki season, and I was like...
It's always Snooki
I
season.
feel like that's summer.
I mean, it can always be Snooki season, too.
I mean, that's true. That's true. She is a girl for all seasons.
That's true.
Oh,
But
God.
I was like, what are we doing?
Oh, God. We're recording.
Yeah.
Live.
As opposed to
Not
what?
Live. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
So,
No, it's scary.
so two things. One, I just want to give a shout out to one of our running community friends. Oh my God. What is his name?
Look, you're changing the subject, and you're not even ready.
I was.
Get it together.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
He's like, I'm
What?
not abruptly going to change the
I'm having a
subject
brain
and
fart.
not even have a point.
What's Hill? Hill.
Jamie.
Jamie.
Hill.
Thank God. I was like, what is Jamie's first name?
God.
Cut that out.
That is definitely staying.
Jamie, I'm sorry. I kept thinking Coach Hill. I wanted to call you Coach.
That's his moniker. Yeah. Yeah. He
Okay,
goes by Coach Hill.
because I was like, is
His
his
first
name
name's Coach, like a new girl.
shout out to Jamie Hill, who just completed his first marathon.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes. Yep.
We've been following along with his entire running journey for a couple years now, and I think
Almost 5.
that's so awesome. So congratulations there.
Yeah, it's
And then-
amazing.
Well done.
He did say it's going to be his last, so we'll see.
Well, a lot of people
Sure
say
it
that.
will.
And then the other shout out to oh my God, Brooklyn Spoke, Doug,
What is happening? This is fantastic.
War on Cars. Did you see Ed Begley Jr.
Oh,
is
I
gonna
did.
be
Yes.
Yes.
go down
Fantastic.
that IMDb rabbit hole on Ed Begley Jr. because he's
Yeah.
been in everything for the
Oh, yeah.
longest time.
Everything. Yeah. Ed Begley's been in, or Ed Begley Jr. has been in everything.
I mean,
I remember him from Eating Raoul, the classic 1980s cult film.
that is obscure
I've never even heard that.
compared to what else he's been in.
It was a deep cut. Well, actually, I also remember him from what was the hospital show he was on? St. Elsewhere
I
that
was like-
Denzel was on.
I was like, General Hospital?
But that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of the War on Cars, they also got a shout out weirdly on the Single Track podcast, which is a ultra running podcast, and it was out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
I meant to message Doug about that, but I totally forgot. So he will hear it now, hopefully, if he listens to this. So, Doug, you got a shout out on the Anton Krupichka episode of Single Track Podcast.
Oh,
Nice. Nice. All right.
So anyway, we were doing this little intro because we're actually not recording. Well, we are.
Haha! Surprise! We're
Trick
taking a
or
break
treat.
again.
Trick or treat. We're in California. I'm possibly running a 48-hour race right now. So you're going to get the first episode of...
Pace yourself. It's just cancer.
Please subscribe on its feed if you would like.
Yeah.
Well-
Stephanie, me. It's great. We're
I-
hilarious.
I've had the privilege of listening, and I will say Erin definitely goes full Erin on this podcast. So
Oh,
if that's your cup of tea, and it is,
because you're here.
you better tune in and listen because It's a very, very nice podcast.
I won't be
and
listening. I
appreciate it.
can't fit it in. Between re-listening to Akatar and my literal audio erotica, there's no space for podcasts.
I'm kind of curious what full Erin is now, but I guess if you listen to the podcast,
you know exactly what that means.
I do not, but
Oh,
okay.
God.
It's awesome. That's what full Erin is.
Also, I did not edit it.
Nope,
Just
I edited
putting that
it
out there.
all by
Yeah.
myself.
It sounds good. I'm telling you. I'm not just blowing smoke. I really enjoyed it today. Really enjoyed the back and forth.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I had spent like hours watching YouTube videos on editing because I couldn't figure out how to put the music in. And I was away while I was trying to figure it out. So Michael, I didn't want to be texting Michael every 20 seconds. So this does not mean I will be editing this podcast. So any editing mistakes in this podcast, still see our producer, Michael.
Yep.
Also, the theme music to your new podcast, Erin, could also double as like the theme music to like a 70s Spike Lee movie.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
It's awesome.
Yes, it is true.
Just a random internet find.
That's good.
You know, GarageBand has...
I did see that, but I didn't like any of them.
Yeah, they're all free, though, at least.
This one was free, too.
Oh, there you go. As long as
Yeah.
it's free.
I just literally found it on I Googled podcast introduction music, and I found like a website that had 40,000 clips of music.
Interesting.
Look at that.
Very good.
Michael's like, just want to make sure you're not going to get arrested.
Yeah, don't steal. You're making so much money off of it. I don't want you to.
Yeah.
The $0.00 and the money that I actually spent to boost the post.
Well,
so
there is that. Yeah. It's actually negative.
So I'm technically in the negative right now.
Negative dollars. Yeah.
We're in the hole.
Well, I hope you guys enjoy it. I know that it, cancer, talk about cancer is not everyone's cup of tea, but we are hoping to build a community of runners who have had or have cancer and are still trying to run and manage how to train and laugh through the diagnosis. I think the laughing part's more important than the running part.
I
True.
think so too. I don't know if you left this in because again, I don't listen. But was it last episode where we discovered like you didn't really tell your doctor you're doing a marathon? You just said, I'm going to keep running.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, I said that I'm going to keep running. I guess I just
Not the extent
I wasn't
of the
clear.
running.
You didn't
I wasn't
communicate,
clear about
like,
what
the
we
amount.
meant. Yes, I don't think we were clear about
There was
the
no
amount.
elaboration on the distance until last time. So,
All right.
all right. Well, we got a runner
Yeah.
studio to get to. So, everybody enjoy the episode.
Yep.
We'll be back.
We'll be back in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Welcome to the Pace Yourself, It's Just Cancer podcast, where we discuss various cancer diagnoses and how we and other athletes have trained through the journey and beyond.
We are in the in-between. We can't control the diagnosis we were given. We can't control the treatments to an extent, but we can control what happens in the in-between. That is our story to write. Come along on this adventure as we create a community of survivors and thrivers.
Hello and welcome. I'm one of your hosts, Erin.
And I'm Stephanie.
Yeah. This is our inaugural episode of Pace Yourself. It's Just Cancer. We are a podcast that, I don't know, this brainchild sort of came from Stephanie.
I was in the shower one day after talking to Erin via Instagram, and I just, like I said on a previous podcast, I just heard something in her voice where I knew that she just wanted to talk more about running and the cancer diagnosis. And so I texted her, I'm like, I just had a brilliant idea. Let's do a podcast. And she was, within a second, she was like, I'm on it. Let's do it. So here we are.
Yeah, I mean, my life has changed quite a bit recently, so I have a lot more time on my hands. And if you know me, you might know me from the Will Run For podcast. I do have another running podcast. And as Stephanie's pointing out, I was on that podcast. I think the thing about it is, like, I want to be honest about my journey, but I also don't want that podcast to become a cancer podcast.
Or the Erin show.
Yeah, that's not what that show was meant for. And, you know, maybe some people want to hear how I'm doing, but like, I don't think that everyone needs to hear it all the time. So,
Or all the little nitty gritty details that only us going through cancer or have gone through cancer
yeah,
understands.
there's a like meme site. I'm sure that you probably follow some of them too. I follow like the Oh So Tough, the cancer patient, where they have like, I'm a dark humor gal, so like it's just ridiculous, funny memes all the time. And I like when the one calls the people who don't have cancer muggles, which
Love it. Oh my God.
I know you will appreciate because
Yay,
you're a
Harry
Harry
Potter.
Potter gal as well. So cancer muggles don't need to hear all about some of this stuff, but we thought it'd be nice to have a community where you guys might want to hear about some of this stuff, what it's like to go through treatment and still try and be active and running and doing marathons and really, really dumb stuff.
And trying to keep your sense of identity when it just feels like all of it just is slowly or quickly being peeled away from you.
Yeah. And like, while you can't necessarily control how every run goes, you can control the fact that you're still doing that and still moving your body and saying, F you, cancer. Are we going to be a podcast that censors, or are we going to be a explicit podcast?
You know,
Let's
I
clear
don't
that up
know.
right
Since I'm fluent in cursing,
Okay.
it's going to be very hard for me to police myself. But I also don't want to, be for adult ears only. So I don't know.
It's a good question. All right. So we'll come back to that at some point. For this episode,
Case by case basis.
we'll stay clean. So let's start the episode, as we will with most episodes, with a medical fun fact.
So as some of you may or may not know, I am a family nurse practitioner. So these medical fun facts will be based on legitimate websites, medical knowledge, peer-reviewed websites, or medical textbooks. So this medical fun fact is brought to you by Roche.com, Roche. It's a pharmaceutical medical company. And breast cancer is more common in the left breast than the right. The left breast is 5 to 10% more likely to develop cancer than the right breast. The left side of the body is also roughly 5% more prone to melanoma, a type of skin cancer. Nobody's exactly sure why this is. However, my somewhat educated assumption is since the heart is on the left side, it's a lot easier to push blood cancer cells from the area of origin all around your lymphatic system and your tissues.
Interesting.
And my breast cancer is actually on the left as well.
My breast cancer is on the left.
My friend's breast cancer, my 9-year-old, I have 2 boys. I will refer to them as Mr. 4 and Mr. 9 to maintain somewhat privacy for them. Mr. 9 has a best friend, and his mom has breast cancer. And so she has been kind of my mentor going through this. Shout out to Dawn, sweet, sweet, sweet person. And hers is on the right. So it's interesting.
All right.
And it was also Dawn that made me realize that there is, unspoken language between cancer survivors, warriors, fighters. As we were at the book fair last year in the library, and she's probably about 7-8 months ahead of me in this process, and we share the same plastic surgeon and breast surgeon, but all my other medical treatments are through the VA hospital because I'm an Army veteran. Well, she just looked at me. She said, "How you doing?" And I just said, "I don't know." And she said, "Yep." So that's exactly.
Yes. I love that question because it's like, how do you answer
that?
Like you have cancer, like how, and it's one of those things that only a thriver or a survivor can really understand. There's no answer.
Nope.
And it changes literally moment to moment.
By the
like I
minute.
could be totally fine, like, and going about my business, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like I'm not.
Yep.
So there's no rhyme and reason to it. That is an interesting fact, and maybe it'll be one of our first social media polls for those of you who have breast cancer.
That's a great
Are you
idea.
left-sided or right-sided? I'd be interested to know.
I would even be more interested to see what the handedness of the person is. If their
Oh.
breast cancer, if there's any correlation between breast cancer and their dominant hand.
I'm a right-handed.
Same here.
Okay.
I'll have to ask my friend if she's left-handed or right-handed.
Yeah, that's
Huh.
interesting.
If anyone is listening to this and they're going to be on a study, please include me. Just shout out. Just putting it out there.
Are there medical trials on whether your breast is left versus right, and what
Dude,
your
it could be.
your left
Maybe
or
there was
right-handed?
thought of it. I don't know. I didn't take the time to look.
That's funny. You had another medical fun fact.
So, still on the same website, let's just give a huge shout out to modern medicine, because if you were living in ancient times, wasp dung was used as a treatment for breast cancer. First of all, I guess wasps have been around a lot longer than I ever really thought of.
Oh my God.
So, insect feces featured heavily in ancient remedies for breast cancer. An Egyptian papyrus recommended a mixture of cow's brain and
God.
wasp dung to be applied to breast tumors for 4 days. Insect feces were still considered one of the most advanced treatments for breast cancer up until the Middle Ages.
Oh my God.
Thankfully, treatments have advanced a great deal since then, and thank you for that.
Yes.
First
right?
off,
I can't even
my
imagine.
question, how do they get insect feces?
Especially out of a wasp. Like, is the wasp stinging you? What is happening?
I mean, I have questions.
I have a lot
So
of
many
questions as well.
The cow's brain, easy to catch. Get it. Got it. You know, you're using the entire cow. Awesome. But a wasp.
The medical fun fact, we will try and make it educational, because if nothing, we would like to try and, advocate for actual medical care. But every so often you might get a weird fact like that.
Just a round of applause for what's the word I'm trying to put? Modern day medicine.
Modern medicine. Yes, medical advancements. I agree, because I can't imagine being treated with wasp dung.
And cow brain. Don't forget the cow.
So we wanted to take some time on this very first episode to sort of introduce ourselves. This will be a little less structured than maybe some of our upcoming episodes over the next month. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month when this is dropping, since both of us have breast cancer. But this podcast will be more than just breast cancer. It's for all survivors and thrivers of all cancers, because all cancers are important and need advocacy, and because we're all kind of going through the same thing, even though everything is very different. That's the one of the things that I actually learned very quickly through this, is that no cancer is the same, whether it's breast cancer or colon cancer or lymphoma. Like, everybody's cancer is so different, from like thriver to thriver. Like, my cancer is nothing like Stephanie's cancer, and her cancer is nothing like my cancer.
And even of the same cancer, same grade, could be different treatment options and treatment modalities, which is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. And what works for one is not going to work for other, because when I was on Keytruda, everyone talked about it being like this miracle, like in immunotherapy. And I was the PD-1 whatever positive, so it should have helped me, quote unquote. But I had progression, so it didn't. And you'll hear more about each of our stories over this month. First, we'll feature Stephanie, and we'll go through kind of her running journey along with her cancer diagnosis and where she's at now. And then we'll do the same for me. And that'll be sort of our month of October before we jump into what we envision for this podcast.
We are hoping to make the podcast mimic or mirror the cancer of the month, the
Yeah.
flavor of the month, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have a calendar that sort of talks about what all the cancers are. You hear, and this was something that I saw another thing for September even. You hear all about breast cancer awareness. Like there are, I mean, it is like splash everything with pink everywhere. Like football gets into it. Like everybody is in pink. Like even like the hockey players at some point are in pink. Like it's insane. But you don't actually hear that much about other cancers, like, and their awareness months, nearly
Nope.
as much as you do about breast cancer. And part of me, while I have breast cancer and I feel like I want to advocate for myself and for the things that there are so many other people that need advocacy.
Absolutely.
So that's something that we want to make sure that everyone feels included.
You know, and I saw something on Facebook the other day where I love October, partly because my favorite color is pink. Everything turns to pink, you know, outside of, you know, why it's pink, but everything's pink and I love pink. And it's my birthday month. And I get a whole month. And then it ends on
My
Halloween.
birthday month's in November, so we
Yay!
get to have consecutive birthday
Woo!
months.
And then I get candy at the end of the month. And if I'm good, I wait till near the end of the month to get the Halloween candy. Because if not, we'll have to make a few extra trips. Yep. But I saw on Facebook the other day that someone was like, I hate that, you know, everything gets pink for breast cancer awareness because it doesn't really raise awareness. And if you really wanted to make a difference, then you should donate to something. And I understood where that person was coming from, but also I thought about the ice bucket challenge from years and years ago for ALS.
Oh, yeah.
So that great. I too was like, this is stupid. You know, ice bucket challenge doesn't do anything. It's just for likes on Facebook or whatever. But I did it anyways because I'm not one to pass up a challenge if I'm called out on it. And apparently it did raise a lot of money and it did raise awareness. And they have a whole lot more drugs and clinical trials now because of the ice bucket challenge. So even if somebody can't put money towards something or a cause, but they're wearing pink and with a pink ribbon or what have you, someone else that can do something about it may see it.
Yeah.
So visibility is never a bad thing.
Agreed. So what made you want to start this podcast, Stephanie?
Well, a while ago when I started doing, you know, keeping running through my diagnosis and trying to be a mom, someone said, you know, you should do a podcast or you should write a book. And I'm like, well, that's great all, but there's nobody that's going to want to listen to me. And I was like, yeah, you have a lot of great things to say. I'm like, I'm just hard-headed. But anyways, like I said, I was listening to Will Run For, and when I heard your cancer diagnosis, and I just heard it in your voice that you were depressed. And I'm just going to call you out. You were depressed. I mean, I am. I hear it. I heard the silent siren in your voice. Like, I need to talk about this. I need someone to understand. And since I had someone ahead of me in this process, and it made me feel a little less alone. And so I was like, I'm this person for Erin. And so I kept reaching out to her, and she's like, well, who's this person? And I was like,
well, I saw you. I started following you on Instagram because you ran with Pelkey.
Yes.
For his 10K.
Yep.
And I saw your handle.
Yep.
At Springtime, and that's what made me follow you.
So the other day I was recording with On the Runs with Eric and Erica.
They're awesome. I love them so much.
That was so much. Thank you so much for recommending me to them. But they were asking how I knew you, and I'm like, well, I don't know if she knows, but I saw her and kind of like waved to her at Springtime Surprise 10-miler.
Oh, really?
And I was like, and I don't think she knows because I was a warthog.
Okay.
Because it was at the Toy Story bathroom in Toy Story Land. And you were standing there waiting for Diana, and I was coming out of the bathroom with my Timon.
I was with Greg at that point too.
Yeah,
I think,
and Greg was running with my little group, and he was standing there talking to you, and I was just standing there like a freaking idiot, like behind him, like doo-doo-doo, I'm a warthog.
Was Allie with you?
Yes, I had a Allie without an E.
I actually remember this incident that we're talking about.
I was the warthog.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I think at that point I didn't know who you were.
No, you didn't. It's fine. So yeah, when you hear the episode drop for On the Runs, like I talk about it, I'm like, I don't think she knew I existed or who I was. But I was this warthog standing in the background.
Oh, that's so funny. That's fantastic. I love that. I love that for us. Yes, and then so your name just kind of kept popping up places all of a sudden because you are a Rise and Run. I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of other podcasts. Check them out. Rise and Run is a much more Run Disney focused podcast. I know we'll get a lot of Run Disney folks over here just because the two of us are connected to Run Disney.
And I drink the Run Disney Kool-Aid so much.
Yeah, so much.
I live right here. Run Disney literally is the closest place to me.
I live in New Jersey, and I think that I'm in Disney at least once a month.
That's awesome.
Here we are. On the Runs, as Stephanie just mentioned, is another podcast. They're out of New Hampshire. They're fantastic. I met Erica at a race one year, and their whole shtick is like on the runs because, when you
GI distress.
have to go, when you have to go, you have to go.
Yep.
So their little thing is a poop emoji. So
when you said that On the Runs, and I look for their podcast to give them a listen, because I'm always on the hunt for a new podcast while I'm waiting for new Harry Potter podcast to be released. I was like, surely this isn't this one, and I kept going back to our conversation. I'm like, nope, wait, okay. So I listen. I'm like, no, those are the names she talked about. I'm like, what in the heck did she sign me up for?
Did they ask you for a code brown?
Yes, they did.
Fantastic.
I hadn't made it through all the way through one episode yet. And then they were like, oh, so code brown. I'm like, oh my God, because I used to be an ER nurse. And I'm like, oh God, I don't know if I have any poop stories that I want to share that won't incriminate me.
It's fun though. It's a fun podcast.
Oh yeah, it was great.
So yeah, well, I'm sure you'll hear us talk about different friends, different groups. We mentioned Pelkey. He also has a podcast, 321 Go. Also,
with Carissa Galloway. Awesome.
They're the race announcers from Run Disney. Yeah, so you wanted to start a podcast, and so I would want to go back to what you said about me being depressed. I mean, I think it's fair to say that pretty much anyone who gets a cancer diagnosis at some point is depressed.
Absolutely. Someone says they're not, I will show you a liar.
And I think my way of processing things is definitely dark humor and like joking around about it. And I have great friends who have allowed me to do that. And I have great friends who have also just treated me normal. Yep. And I think part of my journey that you'll hear along the way is that I don't know how to integrate myself into these support communities because a lot of them are either super religious and that's not who I am, or they're talking about all the terrible things that they're going through. And while I understand that and I want to like be a part of it because I want to hear information, like I'm going to go start a new chemo in October and I wanted to hear like other people's experiences with it. And whether or not I was going to lose my hair and like all these different things. But like going into these groups is really difficult for me, especially because a lot of them are not as active as I am. And so like you hear all these stories about people who are like on the couch all day and the chronic fatigue. And I have chronic fatigue, but I am a person who's refusing to give into that chronic fatigue.
Yep.
And finding people like me has been a lot more difficult than I thought it would be.
Absolutely. And I'm only in one of those Facebook groups, support groups, and, someone's post something and then, you've got 27 people saying, oh, that's terrible. Another few people saying, well, I cured my cancer with diet, which don't even get me started on that soapbox.
We're going to go on many rants about that at some point.
Absolutely. Talk about victim blaming. Oh, you had too many McDonald's. You have breast cancer. Bite me.
When you started talking about the wasp dung, all I can think of is like this girl that I went to like elementary school who sent me like all of this information about like these weird mushrooms
Oh.
and like I'm like, can you
For crying out loud.
like no.
Oh my God.
First of all, I haven't talked to you in like 800 years.
Why?
Like, no.
Like, that's another soapbox. Why do people? I understand the intention is pure, and I understand and I get it and I appreciate it, but no.
I guarantee you that you will hear a lot of this along the way.
Yeah.
And if you believe in this stuff, it's like you do you. Like if you're listening to this podcast and you are doing some of that stuff, we are not like like that's for you. Like to each their own. But for me,
and
that
as a
was
medical
not...
professional, I am following the evidence-based medicine. I am trusting my treatment
Yes.
team because they know more than I do. They
Yes.
know more than what is available on Google. I did not get my nurse practitioner degree from Google. I got it from a reputable brick and mortar institution. But your Google MD degree does not override 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, God knows how many years of residency in oncology. Then if you're talking about your radiation oncologist, that's even more residency time. I mean, we're talking upwards of minimum of 12 years of schooling in one particular disease process versus your 2 or 3 days of Googling. So please, let's just not. Like you found
sugar feeds cancer, guys.
There are studies that show that diet has a hand in it, but there's also in those groups they're like, oh well, I'm vegan and I haven't had any processed food in 3 years, and I had breast cancer, or I had breast cancer, all this time, and then I cut my diet clean. I had a reoccurrence. Like, no, my cancer came from Iraq. Okay. I don't have family history.
I don't have the genes for
Neither
it either.
do I.
Because
minor fun fact: BRCA gene mutation is very rare.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll hear us rant all about this all along the way. Don't you worry. But
welcome to the show, guys.
And you know what? We might not be everyone's flavor, and that's totally fine too. I think that we are of like mind, which I appreciate. Thankfully, that we prefer our medical facts and science to be from medical professionals in science.
Yes.
So that was what brought us here, right? You heard me.
And she ignored a warthog. So
I ignored a warthog. And yeah, I mean, ultimately it comes down to finding a community of people that not only understand what it's like to be told you have cancer, but also want to say, fuck you to cancer.
Well, there goes that explicit thing.
Well, It's hard to like be on a cancer podcast without saying fuck cancer.
I know. Well, I already stopped myself a few times, so I'm really proud of myself.
I kind of feel like we're just going to be an
Probably.
explicit title.
We'll try our best, but if it happens,
I don't think we're gonna. I don't think that's gonna happen.
I don't think it's in the cards either.
It's a cancer podcast.
Well, that's like you said in our Instagram introduction, it's not all sunshine and rainbows and butterflies. Like,
yeah,
did one of the stickers I make you say my oncologist does my hair?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like she and I really haven't. We've exchanged text messages and a few Zoom calls getting prepared for this, and I was like, she's gonna like this one.
My oncologist will be doing my hair shortly because I will be losing my hair on this next chemo. So my friends made it pink for me.
And it's gorgeous.
Because this is what my hair used to look like before my diagnosis. And then I wanted to cry in the shower. And when you have your hair be pink, you have to wash it in cold water. And cold water showers aren't fun for when you want to cry.
That's a good point. I have ADHD, anxiety, and depression, and all this existed before the cancer, but the cancer certainly didn't make any of it better. But
same girl.
Yeah, so cold showers are better for anxiety, and hot showers are better for depression. Lukewarm showers don't do anything for me, so I'm just like up shit creek without a paddle.
Yeah, I mean, the first time, like when I found out, and the first shower I was in, I don't know why all my good cries happen in the shower, but that seems to be like where I wanted to cry.
I think it's romanticized in those like rom-com movies and stuff because I
And
love a good shower cry.
I it is, but I think you're alone. I think all of my best ideas come in the shower. I mean, you just
The
literally
podcast?
said that this podcast came to you in the shower. So I think the shower is where
Where the magic happens.
I mean, there's also that kind of magic if you want that kind of magic. If you got the right shower head, I suppose.
Thank God for those two.
Yeah, but like I think that's what it comes down to is like the shower is like that place where your best ideas and your best thinking comes, but it's also where your worst thinking happens.
Yep, because I guess it's the, like a good run in the rain. It just feels like everything is just coming out and just washing off of you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted that for myself. So I dyed my hair back to dark so that I could take a hot water crying shower. So, what is this podcast going to be? What do you think, Stephanie? What are we going to talk about?
Well, our rants, our raves, our maybe our training, how it's going, how we are still overcoming some of our things. While you mentioned earlier that I'm kind of in the final stages of my immediate treatment, I'm always going to be in treatment. Our lives will always forever be changed. I saw some, and I think I sent it to you on Instagram, when someone says they're done with cancer, they're done with chemo, that's not quite true, because then we have to deal with the side effects and the after effects and everything in between. I have to have
and the mental toll that it takes
my
on
God.
you. Like when you're done with chemo, like you're never the same. And if you talk to anyone who's been through it and is on the other side and like in remission or considered cured after 5 years of remission, they'll still tell you that it still affects them to this day.
I scraped out of having chemo by the skin of my teeth. We'll talk about more, but my tumor, every tumor gets tested oncotype testing for cancer cells and what type and how it will respond to chemo. It comes back with a score, and my score had to be 11 or more to earn chemo, and I was 10. But since my cancer was, I'm still so young. Strictly speaking, I turned 40 in a few days after this airs. So I was diagnosed at age 38 with breast cancer. And baseline mammograms don't start until you're 40.
Yeah.
So, if I hadn't found my lump, it wouldn't have been discovered for, until, in a few months from today. And it was already spread to one lymph node. So good Lord knows what I would look like now if I didn't
You'd
find
look
it when
like
I did.
me.
With pink hair too?
Maybe.
Maybe.
You'd have a 9-centimeter tumor with like 20 lymph nodes that are
9
on
centimeters,
fire.
holy hell.
I think it's like 15 lymph.
Jesus.
It's a lot of lymph nodes.
Fun. And fun
Yes,
times were had by all.
So fun.
So great. So magical.
I love that for me.
Congratulations. Go full hard or go home.
You will never get serious, me.
Maybe.
I mean, I get serious, but I laugh about this a lot. So
I may get emotional and cry every once in a while, and I've tried to be extremely transparent on my own Instagram page, and I call it Real Reels, because I refuse to let my social media stuff be my highlight reel, because I agree
with that.
Because I know how depressing it is when you are in a dark place and then you see someone else's life look so great and sunshine and beautiful, and you're like, well, my life sucks. What am I doing wrong? And so I'm like,
and I think that even comes back to why why this podcast was semi-important, was because I feel like I am the same way, where I like to be as transparent as I can. And like, I'm not a great social media person. Like, I don't post regularly. There are times where I'll go like a month without a post. But when I do, I try to make it like real, because I think in society in general, we don't talk about this tough stuff.
No.
We don't necessarily talk about how hard marriage is. We don't talk about how hard raising children is. We don't talk about how hard it is to become a step parent. We don't talk about how hard we don't talk about any of the hard stuff.
No,
We don't talk about how miscarriages suck.
I was just about to tell you, I was just about to say that because I was very transparent with my miscarriages.
Yeah, we don't talk about our ADHD. There's so many women who don't, like, I just read a statistic where there's like 42% of women who are diagnosed with ADHD don't tell anyone. And I'm like, why? Meanwhile, me, on the other hand, I'm like screaming it. If I have a problem, I'm screaming it from a rooftop.
I think it's my superpower at times. Yep. And so Mr. Nine has ADHD, and I'm pretty sure that he got it honestly. And so when I told him I have it, his face just completely changed because he was diagnosed when he was 8, and I had to sit down, and I was wanted to be very honest with him. And me being a medical professional, I've always used the correct terminology for him with anything that's going on. And I said, well, you have ADHD. He's like, what's that mean? I'm like, well, you know how you can't control your sillies? It's because your brain is just a little bit different. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's just your brain developed a little bit differently. And it's like mine. And he's like, what? You have it? I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Wow. And then I'm so proud of him because the other day in school, the class was acting extremely crazy, and he probably had a hand in it too. Let's just call it spade a spade. And one of his friends says, it's like the entire class has ADHD. And then my son said, the sweetest kid, gives you the shirt off his back, says, well, don't say that. That's not funny. I have ADHD. And then so many kids in the class started piping, I have ADHD. I have ADHD. And my kid was like, I didn't know there were so many people that had it. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself and for your people, your friends that you didn't even know needed it to happen. But you don't have to tell people if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. But like, it makes people realize, like, especially at that age too, like, to feel not so alone in like whatever's happening, because at that age it's hard to like really put your emotions into words. I mean, as a 42-year-old, I still have not figured out how to put my emotions into words sometimes.
Yep.
I mean, there was a day after this happened, like, Michael had signed up for a race. My husband had signed up for a race, and it was a race that we had talked about doing together, and I couldn't like everything else that was happening, this just like broke the camel's back. Like, I just started like hysterically crying, like the kind of hysterical crying where like I sat on the couch and I put a blanket over myself because I was hiccuping so loud because I was like
You had the ugly cry going.
It was so ugly, and I threw a blanket over my head, and Michael's like, what is happening?
I'm in a cave. Leave me alone. You can't see me
right now. So yes, the ugly cries do happen, and we need to not feel so alone in the journey. And so, that's part of this podcast, was finding a community so we can all understand kind of what we're going through.
Yep.
We'll have guests along the way. We have started a list of friends that we know, which honestly, the list got longer than I expected. Apparently
I love and I hate it.
Yeah. That's sort of how I felt when I was looking at it. I'm like, wow, I don't know that I realized that we knew so many people who have had cancer or have cancer.
Of various types. And we're not just talking about breast cancer.
Yeah.
We've got colon cancer people on there, skin cancer, ovarian. Did you have ovarian, or was that uterine?
Yeah, there was an ovarian cancer on there for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk about all kinds, and we'll get people on to talk about like what their journey was like, how they thrived through it and became or ran through it. Some of the people I know like became runners after, and part of why they became runners was because they beat cancer and they were like, oh, look at all this other hard thing that I did. Running should be easy.
Right. Yes. So speaking of your recent breakdown, I in my Notepads app on my phone, I have a folder called Breast Cancer Saga, and I keep track of like the stuff that happened during the day that notable, and I can go through it during the length of the podcast. But one of my most favorite things was my Target breakdown, and this happened almost a year ago, September 26th of last year. And so I'll read it to you. Today I was that crazy woman having a breakdown in the middle of Target. Why? Because as I was checking in at the CVS and Target for my flu and COVID shot, I realized that I'm now part of the immunocompromised community that benefits from herd immunity, and I may need more than usual, and that I may need, herd immunity more than usual if I go through chemo. And while waiting for the staff to try to get my COVID vaccine approved by the insurance, and what a clusterfuck that was, and I didn't get it that day, the weight of what the pending genetic test hit me again. It'll determine whether I need a hysterectomy or medically induced menopause at age 39. 39. And I know, just one step at a time, just have to wait, can't change it, etc. So if people are tempted to say that to someone's going through cancer, just don't. Like, we know that. Just let us be in our feelings, let us feel the feelings. But, later that day, I can now laugh at how ridiculous I looked walking through the makeup section at Target, bawling. So
Yeah.
it was, and then, I had a nice little breakdown at Walmart where the entire store, the front of the store just looked at me. So I'll go into that some other time. Oh yeah, it was epic. It was fun.
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, I feel like most of my breakdowns have been, I'm trying to think if I've had a public one.
Well, you should. It's real fun.
Well, and I will say, and I'm sure you probably get this too, is my favorite thing to get is, well, you don't look sick, because I still have my hair. I never, the chemo that I was on didn't cause that to happen.
Well, what do they want breast cancer to look like on the outside?
I don't know. I don't know.
Their X-ray vision must be broken.
I guess when they expect you to have cancer, every cancer patient must not have hair is apparently a thing. Which I guess I didn't know.
No, I didn't get that memo either.
And then because I laugh and because I have fun and I still go out and do life.
Right, because you are not your diagnosis.
I don't look like I have cancer.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations, you're cured.
Oh, gosh.
You just needed someone to say that. Why didn't you think of that earlier?
Don't worry. I will look like I have cancer soon when I'm bald.
God, you're such an idiot. You should have just wished it away. Duh. Why don't you talk about our Facebook group?
Yeah, we'll have some other segments along the way. I know Stephanie has an idea for her nacho average kid. Pint-sized chaos.
Yeah, I was going to say pint-sized chaos, but someone said, why don't you throw in the Rise and Run Family Feud will run for nacho cheese, nacho average.
Oh, God.
So my pint-sized chaos is the musings of my 4-year-old who has the humor and comedic timing of someone twice his age.
Nice.
Just last night, and I'll just give you a nice little taste of it. Last night, driving back from hockey, the 4-year-old's in Learn to Skate, and the 9-year-old is in a 10U league for hockey. And it's dark. It's 9 o'clock. And the 9-year-old looks in the sky, is like, oh, it's a full moon. I hope there aren't any werewolves out. And the 4-year-old goes, ow! Dwa, do you hear that? That a werewolf. You scared? The 4-year-old trolls the 9-year-old so hard. That's why he's cute. They're funny.
Oh, boy. Yeah, so we'll get some random humor from a 4-year-old along the way. And then we are going to have a Facebook group that we created.
A page and a group.
A page and a group. The page will be like any other page where you'll just find our episodes and our episode art and links and things like that. But the group is where we kind of want to build our community. We're calling it Tumor Talk, where y'all can, talk about your runs, post what you're doing. But we do want to keep it pretty private because it is hard to find your people in all of this. And so we want you guys to feel comfortable talking about more personal things. And so we are going to keep it password protected.
And we respectfully request that you only try to get into that group if you have or had cancer, please.
Yes. So we will come up with a Tumor Talk password, and when you try and join the group, the question will be before you can join, what is the Tumor Talk password of the week?
Yep.
And we'll
From the
give
most
you,
recent show.
yes, of the most recent show. So you'll always have it. And honestly, if you are listening to a previous episode and you give a previous episode, because I know you get behind, people get behind on podcasts. I'm like 5 behind on a few of them. So if you give an old password, just like type it in that, like, I'm listening to episode number blah blah blah, and this was the password on it, because we're not looking to exclude people. We want to make sure that you are a listener, that you are kind of on this journey with us, and so that if people are giving sensitive information in this group, they feel comfortable doing so.
And positive supporting stuff, please.
Yes.
If someone posts something, let's just keep it positive.
Yeah, don't be an asshole.
There you go.
That's our rule.
That's more
the
succinct
rule for the
right
group.
to the point.
That's the and if you are an asshole, I will kick you out of the group.
Absolutely, without a
The
doubt.
end.
Erin and I are the law. And that's Tumor Talk is a homage to Harry Potter for Potter Watch from Deathly Hallows. So
There you go.
you got to have a password to get in.
Exactly. What is our password for this week?
I don't know. I guess we probably should have thought of that beforehand.
We probably should have. It was always going to be something related to cancer, right?
Right. I guess tumor. For the
Yeah,
first one.
we'll start simple.
Yeah,
There you go.
tumor.
If you would like to join the group, I will make it public. Right now I have it set to private, so before this episode drops, hopefully I will remember to make it public so that you can still search for it.
Public to search for it, private to join. So
Private to join.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And then we'll also have a segment where we're calling it the bell segment, I think.
Yeah. Something
And,
catchy. We'll
yeah.
come up with a better name and maybe put some music to it.
But the premise is that while some of us, as myself, may have be near the end stage of our journey that we know of, or no evidence of disease, there are those like Erin who have metastatic cancer, and so hers is going to be more of this is her best friend riding on her shoulder for the rest of her time.
That was a breakdown in front of people, was when I watched someone ring the bell and I had the realization that I likely will never get to ring the bell.
Yeah.
Because I'll never actually be done with treatment.
Maybe you'll ring the bell for each segment of treatment.
Maybe they'll let me ring the bell for radiation when I've finished my round of radiation.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Yeah, so we want to celebrate the wins for anything, even if it's just as simple as you got up and you brushed your teeth,
Yep. I got out of bed this morning.
Exactly. Like, if that was something that was hard for you, we're going to celebrate it. We're going to celebrate it, and we're going to celebrate you.
I ate something more than just rice and toast.
You're carb loading.
Well, there was a week where I ate rice and toast, so it was very exciting that when I got to not eat rice and toast.
Nice. Was that only thing that you could stomach during chemo?
Yeah, well, there was a couple treatments where I definitely had nausea and vomiting for like 72 hours after, and so for like those days plus like 2 days after, I was eating rice. It's fun.
Yeah.
Fun little diet.
Yeah, I imagine so.
So yeah, weekly wins is basically what we're looking for from everyone, and we'll be posting.
Put those up on the page or in
Yep.
the group or whatever.
Yep, we'll put them kind of everywhere right before we record, and we'll ask you guys for some feedback to sort of bring the community into this podcast.
And we're planning on trying to release this every other Tuesday.
Yep.
And this is releasing October 1st, so happy Breast Cancer Month. Welcome.
Question mark.
Try thinking about every other Tuesday unless we get our feet under us and we get a lot more traction than we anticipate, then we might be able to do every week. We'll see.
We'll see.
It's an evolving.
I mean, that's a lot of commitment.
Yeah, true. But this is an
I'm
evolving
not all
organism.
about commitment these days. Listen, I'm retired now, and I spend my days doing nothing. So,
And yet you are still more busy than you were.
Well, it's true. I do feel like I have a lot going on, but
Yeah.
Whatever.
And I am still unemployed. So I've got nothing but time between 9 and 3.
Sweet. 2 jobless cancer girls.
Yep. Coming at you live. 2 weeks ago.
All right. Yeah, so we just wanted to hop on, kind of introduce what we're looking to do. Come join us. We hope you guys come join the podcast group and, start sharing your experiences with us. I know it might take some time. You might not want to do it right away. Maybe you want to get to know us a little bit more. We're pretty chill and casual, and that's kind of what we want the vibe of this podcast to be. If you listen to We'll Run For, we're just chaos. Maybe we'll be less chaos here, but I have my doubts.
It's going to be, controlled chaos, like when I was an ER nurse. Controlled chaos.
I like it. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. Yep. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Like I said, we're an evolving organism, so we're still trying to come up with slogans or titles of segments or whatever.
Yeah, if you guys have suggestions, we'd love to hear.
We've thrown a few around, but
yeah,
this is all of our journeys, not just mine and Erin's.
If there's something that you want to hear, let us know. If you guys have any contacts for any specific people you might want to hear from on the podcast, we would like to try and keep it community based. So we really want listeners to be on the podcast. But if you have, something that might be super important or somebody that you want to recommend, send them our way.
And I also planning on having a few medical providers, both on the breast cancer side, and as well as the primary side, to help you navigate through insurance issues to try to fast track your way to more of a specialist.
Yeah.
And family members.
Insurance. I'm sure we'll go on that rant as
well.
I
had a nice little rant last night at hockey with another nurse. About insurance.
Because, my doctor who ordered the PET scan clearly doesn't know what he's doing. He's not the oncologist who went to medical school forever. Nope. So clearly they know better about what he needs and wants to see.
Absolutely. And so I was in some sort of rabbit hole on Facebook about people trying to advocate for their kids to get a test or something. And one parent posted that they were on their phone with the insurance and, this is a recorded line. So the parent said, okay, and your name is, and this is recorded? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so since you are denying my child for this exam. Yes. Okay, so if my child actually does have this condition that this exam will confirm or rule out, and he ends up dying or having severe complications from an untreated condition, then I have this recorded that you are denying this for my child, and it was approved within a day.
Yeah, I won't even get into childhood cancer because that's even worse. Not that I think that adults should go through it either, but I have a lot of feelings about these people who tell children that they shouldn't be treated. But that's for another day, Stephanie.
That's probably another podcast.
We'll leave this alone for now.
That's probably just another podcast. We'll let someone else pull that train.
All right. So, also, what I also wanted to mention is that we will talk about what it's like and maybe have a few guests on, maybe Michael will come on if you have family members. Cancer is not necessarily a solo journey when you have a family. So that's another important part that I would like to eventually talk about as well. So if you also know somebody who has cancer or you're caretaking, this podcast is also for you.
Yep.
That's all I got.
Yep. Just remember, guys, just curl up or show up.
Yeah.
That's going to look different every day, what you can do, but just keep showing up.
Yep. All right.
That's the choice is yours.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Bye.
Bye. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health providers or team with questions you may have regarding your medical condition. Although Stephanie is a medical professional, again, please seek advice from your personal care team.